So Christmas just ended, and I hope that you had an amazing and meaningful time with family, friends, or even if you just decided, hey, I'm just going to hang on my own, go solo this time. I hope that that was meaningful as well. But Christmas, we are past Christmas now, and passing Christmas means that the end of the year is coming, and also a new year is beginning. And I don't know about you, but one thing that I appreciate about New Year's, in addition to new months and new weeks and even new days, is that for me, I always see it as a new opportunity to kind of start over. Even if yesterday sucked, or even if last month sucked, I was trying to lose weight and I just wasn't able to last month, I always feel like every new week or every new day or every new month or every new year is a new opportunity to live in a new way. It's an opportunity to begin again. But one of the challenges with trying to have a new beginning is that I think for many of us, we kind of feel this constant pressure, this constant just kind of going with the flow, where we don't ever actually pause and reflect and look back upon our lives, to evaluate our lives, to be intentional about saying, man, I'm so glad that this happened in my life, or that this happened this past month or this past year. And these are good things that I want to continue doing. Or maybe even reflecting and analyzing and evaluating and saying, you know what, these are certain things that, man, I don't want to keep doing this. And so, okay, how can I start my life in a new way? Is that we don't have time, and we don't create time, and sometimes we're just so busy that we don't have that time to stop and pause and reflect. Because when we don't reflect and we don't evaluate and when we aren't intentional, then living in a new way is really hard. And I believe that what God wants for us, what God longs for us, is to live into the new life that He is offering to us. That God doesn't want us to stay stuck in our cycles of brokenness, our cycles of cynicism, our cycles of hopelessness or despair or passivity, but that God actually wants so much more for all of us. And so this is the reason why I really, the passage that Ruth read to us, Ezekiel 11:19 through 20, I feel like it's such a good passage for us to reflect on as we close this year and enter into a new one. Okay, and if we could put that back up, I just want to reread it again. And Ruth, thank you for reading it. I really appreciate how you read it so slow, because it's only 2 verses, but there's so much goodness here. Okay, so I'm going to read it to us again, and I'm going to read it slow. Ezekiel 11:19 through 20. I will give them, God is saying this to His people, I will give them an undivided heart, because their hearts are so divided, because our hearts are so divided, and put a new spirit in them. I will remove from them their heart of stone, a heavy heart, a heart that doesn't know how to feel, a heart that feels lost, and give them a heart of flesh that can beat, a heart of flesh that can pump life-giving blood. Then they will follow my decrees and be careful to keep my laws, my life-giving laws. They will be my people, and I will be their God. In this passage, it talks about receiving a new spirit. It talks about receiving a heart of flesh that truly beats in rhythm with God's own heart. It talks about truly knowing God and truly feeling loved and being known as God's people. This is what God desires for you and for me. And my prayer and my hope is that as this year closes and as 2016 is going to begin, that 2016 will be the year where you flourish spiritually. That 2016 will be the year where you are drawn deeper into a meaningful relationship with Jesus, a deeper one that you've ever experienced before. That you would have this intimacy with Christ that you have not had before, that you haven't had for such a long time. That 2016 doesn't have to just be another year in your life, but that it could be the best year you've ever had so far. That's my prayer for you and for me. And so, in order for us to do that, I want to give us some time, right? Because I was just talking about how sometimes we don't pause to really reflect on 2015. I want us to give us some time together here to pause and to reflect together. And so, I'm not going to do much talking anymore, and you're going to do you're going to do the talking. And how we're going to do this is, I have a few questions for us that I want for us to have conversation about. And if we could just break off into groups of four or so, and I encourage you to get into groups of people that you might not know as well, just so that you can get to know other people. But get into groups of 4. Feel free to rearrange the chairs. They're not stuck to the floor, which is nice. And these are the questions I want us to discuss. First question is, what is one thing you are proud of this year? What's one thing that you accomplished or experienced or did or didn't do that you're proud of this year? The second question is, what is one thing that God taught you this year? I hope that you learned many things from God and in life, but just what is one thing that you really felt like God was speaking to you, that God taught you this year? Maybe it was patience, maybe it was generosity, maybe it was, I don't know what it was, but you know what it is. So that's the question. What is one thing that God taught you this year? And number 3 is this: what is one area that you feel you need to grow in for next year? What is an area in your life where you feel like growth needs to happen? And as we think about 2016, this is one where we look forward. The first 2 questions are looking back. The third question is looking forward. Okay, so these are the discussion questions. We're going to have about 15 minutes to talk about these. And then afterwards, we're going to have a little bit of time to pray together. Okay, and I'll give further instruction about how we're going to do that. But let's start rearranging the seats. Groups of about 4. Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3, go. Bam.